Good evening. The executive session of the Wayne Board of Education regular meeting of June 24th, 2021 was convened in the conference room of the Wayne Board of Education, 15 Ellis Drive, Wayne, New Jersey. The state of compliance setting forth time, date, and location was read in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Roll call was taken, the meeting was recessed, and is now being reconvened. Please rise for a flag salute and a moment of silence.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a mover to reconvene? Mr.
Second.
Bubba, Mr. Pavlak, Mr. Moffett, roll call.
Mrs. Albanese?
Here.
Mr. Bubba?
Here.
Mr. Giordano?
Here.
Mrs. Kazan?
Here.
Mrs. Kumar?
Here.
Mr. Pavlak?
Here.
Mrs. Putup?
Here.
Okay, we're going to begin with a presentation for the Eagle Scout, who's in attendance this evening, and Vice President Suzanne Putup. Can you hear me now? I really got to lean into this, huh? It's been a while, over a year, since I had to deal with this. Our Vice President, Suzanne Putup, will be awarding the proclamation this evening to our Eagle Scout.
Is this on?
Okay.
All right. I have a resolution to read. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America was founded in 1910 to teach boys to be good citizens and leaders, and whereas more than 5 million young boys are members of this organization, and whereas the purpose of Boy Scouting is to inspire boys with the highest ideals of character, conduct, patriotism, and service, that they may become happy and resourceful citizens. And whereas Bldg is a student and is a resident of Wayne Township and has completed the Boy Scout requirements for the rank of Eagle Scout, Troop 108. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wayne Board of Education recognizes him on this special occasion and congratulates him for his outstanding achievements and special efforts in fulfilling the stringent character, service, and leadership requirements of Eagle Scout. We present you this plaque to commemorate your achievements.
Can we ask him to tell us what his project was about?
Sure. Come on. Here.
We'd love to hear it.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me today. My name is Bldg. I'm an Eagle Scout at a Troop 108 and will be a sophomore at Wayne Hills High School this coming fall. And I'm here to talk to you about my Eagle project, as mentioned. In an effort to conserve the populations of native animal species of New Jersey, my Eagle Scout project was to build 12 nesting boxes for various species of animals, like birds, bats, and beneficial pollinators. I installed these nesting boxes at the Laurelwood Arboretum in Wayne, New Jersey. From a very young age, birds have always fascinated me, and therefore I wanted to pursue a project that would benefit these creatures. I chose the local Arboretum to be the project beneficiary because not only were we working towards the same goal of connecting people with nature, but I also wanted to do my part and make the community where I live a better place. The project soon expanded to include other types of beneficial creatures like bats and pollinators like bees and butterflies. I built nesting boxes for animals that are actual residents of the Arboretum so that they would have a safe place to roost and raise their young. This would help in conserving the local species of wildlife for the future generations, and it would also improve the quality of the environment in Wayne. Additionally, in the words of Donna McCarthy, the Audubon Society's Birdathon chair, birds are prime indicators of how well we are taking care of the planet. Therefore, the project not only benefits animals, but it also gives us as humans an opportunity to monitor the quality of our environment and make sure we improve it when need be. Executing my Eagle Scout project has been one of the most pivotal moments in my scouting journey, as it has taught me that a leader is not someone who throws around their power aimlessly, but is one who is humble, patient, and responsible. During my Eagle project, I was faced with many harsh challenges that I had to overcome, especially since I executed my project during the global pandemic. As the leader of the project, I had to find ways to navigate past all of these issues and bring the project to success. During this experience, I also learned that strategic planning is a vital part of any project's completion, and that teamwork is also crucial to success. Scouting has provided me an opportunity to grow as a human being and has also helped me discover myself too. The organizational and planning skills that I acquired, as well as the patience and dedication I have, are qualities I hope to use to benefit my school, my community, and my peers. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, young man. You're a tough act to follow. Dr. Toback, we're ready for your report.
So good evening, everyone. This evening, we'll be sharing with the community the results of our Safe Return to School survey for the upcoming school year. As we discussed in our prior Board of Ed meeting, Mrs. Reichman will be sharing that information in a few moments. This is an unusual moment in time for the school district and community, and it's time to celebrate. I would like to start by congratulating the class of 2021 and recognize their many accomplishments. I encourage every resident to read our end-of-year newsletter, which showcases our senior class. Congratulations also to all of our students who are moving ahead in their academic careers and moving to new schools. These are students moving from elementary school to middle school, from middle school to high school. I'd also like to thank all of our students for their perseverance through the pandemic. Our students show great strength and resiliency, even during the darkest and most difficult days of the pandemic. After many long months of COVID restrictions and chaos related to the pandemic, we were able to emerge in the final few weeks of the school year and enjoy so many end-of-year events. In some cases, we planned a little differently, but the bottom line is that we were all able to connect in person to celebrate the end of year and the accomplishments of our students. While the outdoor graduation ceremonies for our high school seniors was in question due to the weather, in the end, the weather did cooperate, and we were able to end our high school experience in the way they had hoped for. I think we can all agree that success is a relative term, especially when talking about a pandemic. In many cases, decisions were made from among multiple bad choices. Still, there are many areas where we can see successful outcomes in our operations. We were able to open our schools for the first scheduled day of school and without delays to our opening, and then our school remained open with a few closures by cohorts or later by school, and at certain times across the district. We remained closed when the pandemic was at its worst and continued to gradually reopen through the spring. We're able to maintain our focus as we work through the budget process, and we're able to move ahead with full-day kindergarten. After many years without, Wayne will have full-day kindergarten in less than 3 months. So I could go on, but this time I'd also like to understand everybody has a desire for a more concise message. So I want to just take a moment to thank the Board of Education for your support throughout this, the most challenging of all school years. You served as a Board of Education at a time when it was never more difficult to serve as a board member, and you established and maintained a path through the pandemic that balanced many different interests and beliefs about how the school system should respond. I also wanted to thank Donna Reichman, Don Auerbach, Matt Mignonelli, Dana Sir, Bill Moffitt, Paula Clark, Joe Burchard, Robert Blanchard, and Rich Skibitsky for all of their work in the central office through almost every day of last summer and throughout the school year. Their dedication to the school system was exemplary. Likewise, our school-level administrators, our principals and assistant principals worked round the clock, and on many days, they dealt with issues of contact tracing investigations, quarantine, and dealing with the daily problem of being shorthanded, in some cases to the extent where there were some situations, due to staffing, it was necessary to close our schools. A special thanks to our new nursing supervisor, Maggie Lindowski, and all of our school nurses for their unbelievable effort to deal with all COVID matters connected with the schools. This means working day and night for 180 days to make sure that all the members of our school community remain safe and healthy, and this also includes weekends. For the most part, we were on our own to make dozens of critical decisions about contact tracing and other steps to protect students and staff, and I thank our nurses for all they did during this past year. To all of our teachers and paras, thank you for your round-the-clock work also to accommodate the students in your classroom and at home. Unless you spend time teaching in a hybrid model, it is difficult to understand how difficult it is to teach students in 2 locations. It's also difficult to understand how many ways teachers went above and beyond to support students through the pandemic. To our support staff in our offices, in addition to handling countless phone calls, which, to be polite about it, were unpleasant, but more importantly, the support staff had a central role in the district's response to the pandemic. In many cases, they served as a vital and trusted communication link between the schools and the community. Quietly and behind the scenes, the support staff kept things moving along in our offices when times were really tough. Operating a school system during a pandemic is not an easy task, and one prerequisite is that we maintain an extraordinary level of cleanliness in every school. So I'd like to thank all of our school custodians for really going so far above and beyond every day of this year, making sure each school was clean, spotless, with the goal of protecting the health and safety of all students and staff. Our bus drivers also deserve recognition for maintaining our long tradition of safe and reliable transportation services. One of the big challenges faced by our drivers is dealing with the changes that resulted from different stages of our school reopening, but also with changes in ridership resulting from parental decisions to send their children to school or keep them home. Special thanks to all of our parents and for their support throughout the year. We appreciate the understanding that many of our parents demonstrated as we did our best to navigate uncharted waters. I'd like to mention that Wayne Township Public Schools Food Services is approved to continue offering free meals to all children from June 23rd to September 8th of next school year. This allows us to give free breakfast and lunches to any student, sibling, or child 18 years old or younger. Every Wednesday is the weekly meal pickup day during the summer. It's from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and the locations are Ryerson Elementary School and Wayne Valley High School. Anyone that signed up during the school year can continue to come each week. The service is flexible to accommodate community needs with alternative pickup days and times as needed. Also, special menu needs with child-friendly food and service is available. I'd like to take a moment to just say a word about Ms. Swalem, our CPAG president. Ms. Isabel Swalem has been the Special Education Parent Advisory Group president since 2017. And she is officially stepping down. Ms. Swalem has provided insight as both a parent and as an educator to serve the Wayne special education community of students and their families. She consistently encouraged parents to deepen their involvement and expand their knowledge of programs and services throughout the district. Ms. Swalem brought beneficial suggestions to the district. The district will miss her, but feel assured that she will certainly not disappear from sharing her ideas and recommendations. And one last thing I have to do, it's required, is I have to do the HIB report. So just quickly, I'm reporting the following data related to harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents in the Wayne Township Public Schools. There were 6 incidents that were investigated since my last report, and 2 of those cases were deemed to be HIB. Administrative conferences and counseling support were provided to support all students involved in these investigations. Ms. Kazan, that concludes my report. We still have the community survey.
Can you hear me? It's turned on? You can hear? Okay, thank you. At our June 10th board meeting, a presentation was made to share our Wayne Public Schools Safe Return to School, Safe Reopening Plan. The next day, a survey was posted on our website to allow time for public comment. Tonight, I'm reporting out on the results. 500 community members participated in the survey. This was a combination of parents, guardians, teachers, other staff members, and students. We're happy to share that 87% of our parents and guardians feel comfortable sending their children back to school in September. The large majority of our teachers and other staff also feel comfortable returning to school in the fall. On this next slide, you'll see that there are a large number of parents and guardians who are concerned about learning loss over the last school year, and we also have a large number of teachers who express concerns as well. We do have plans to begin gathering benchmark data and standards-based assessment data at the start of the school year and continue to assess student progress towards meeting grade level standards in core content areas. Some of the assessment data that we've already used includes iReady, Fontes and Pinnell benchmark assessments in literacy in the elementary schools. We have math benchmarks with our Envision Math program, and we have Linkit benchmarks in place, which are standards-based assessments. The New Jersey Department of Education will administer the Start Strong assessments during the fall of 2021 in English grades 4 to 6, math grades 4 to 6, and science grade 6. These assessments will be administered between September 13th and October 22nd. The Start Strong assessment is being developed to provide states and districts with initial data points on students needing support so that we can better target resources to accelerate student learning. Once we have the exact dates determined, we'll share that information, and that will likely come at the start of school in September. On this next slide, you can see that there is concern from both parents and staff about classroom environments for September. This year, with distancing protocols in place, many of the classroom materials were removed from the classrooms. We had resources taken out, desks were spread out, shields were used, and there was not the overall warm feeling of community in the classrooms that we like to promote. And many of the comments indicated that parents, teachers, students would really like to return to that normal feeling where they're working in a community-type classroom with their peers. We're hoping that that will be the case. We're committed to maintaining our cleaning protocols, our disinfecting protocols, and we recognize that there may be some mandates put forth by the governor, the CDC, or the Department of Health, and we'll await guidance this summer. But we're hoping to have a normal return and restore our classrooms as they previously were. There's also a great deal of concern about mental health issues resulting from the pandemic, feelings of isolation and anxiety. We have a district goal in place to assess and address the mental health needs of our staff and students. We're going to be offering increased counseling services and programs to meet the identified needs in each of our Wayne schools. A survey was sent out just a few weeks ago to gather up from parents any concerns that they saw in the household, and we're distinguishing and differentiating in each school so that we can meet the individual and specific needs of students. This last slide details comments. What I tried to do was just collate and grab the comments that we saw most frequently. And tomorrow, the presentation will be posted on our website so that you'll be able to look at them more closely. And what you'll see here is that people really are hoping that things return to normal. And you see concerns about wearing masks versus not wearing masks for various reasons. Not everyone is vaccinated, and people have differences in opinions. Again, we will await guidance, and we'll be able to communicate and share out more information in August once we have that information from the Department of Health. And that concludes my presentation. You'll be able to view it again on the website tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Reichman. Did the board have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Dr. Toback, did you have another presentation?
Not at this time.
Okay. Mr. Moffett, revisions to the agenda?
Yes, we have a few tonight. I'll start in the L section, education. We previously, meaning last meeting, revised attachment number 2, item 2, line 52, we added ESY one-to-one TA at $7,236.67, Morris Junior Jointure Commission. We have a new revision, line 16 on that same item, which is item 2, approval of 2021-2022 out-of-district placements and related services. That revision will be, again, line 16, and will revise student ID to read 30095186110. Moving on to school resource finance, item number 3, under approval of contracts, we're going to revise line number 51, which is professional services / special ed counsel. A note will be added indicating going to a month-to-month basis for special ed counsel. Moving to emergent action items, we have under the T section, human resources. We'll revise under T1, which is approval of additional compensation, and that's revised attachment number 19, which is high school summer programming. Remove name number 36, which is Douglas. Last name is Schemly. Under T6, approval of leave requests. Under line number 9, ID number 4860, van driver transportation, revised to June 14, 2021, PM half day to June 15, 21-22 full day. Under T11, approval of extracurricular coaches. Under Wayne Hills fall coaches, we'll be revising attachment number 3, Ali Gianni, Giannini, revised from step number 3, which is 2,627, to step number 4, which is 2,782. Under Wayne Hills winter coaches, revised attachment number 9, we'll be adding a name, Amanda Morgan, cheerleading head coach, step number 4, and that is for $3,194. We'll also be adding and revising number 10, Ali Gianni, Giannini, which is revised from step number 3, which is 2,730, to step 4, which is $2,885. T14, approval of summer transportation personnel and hours. We'll revise under the aid section. We'll be adding number 20, Giuseppe, last name is Vigorito, van aid, at 8 a.m., out 9:15 a.m., 1.25 hours, total a.m. As needed in p.m. Revisions on, continuing on T15, we're going to be adding approval of Teamsters Local 11 Memorandum of Agreement and Salary Guides. Recommended action reads as follows. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wayne Township Board of Education approves and ratifies the Memorandum of Agreement and Salary Guides to a successor agreement between Local 11, affiliated with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, and the Wayne Township Board of Education, dated July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2025, and authorizes the President of the Board of Education to execute the new collective negotiations agreement reflecting this memorandum of agreement and salary guides as discussed in executive session. We'll be adding number 16, which is approval of business administrator contract for the school year of 2021 to 2022. That resolution reads, resolve that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves for the 2021-2022 school year an employment agreement between William Moffett as Business Administrator / Board Secretary, commencing July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022, PC number 29-59-23 /BBU, account number 11-000-251-100-55-003, and as revised and approved by the Passaic County Executive Superintendent of Schools. We'll be adding another item, number 17, approval of Assistant Superintendent contract for the school year 2021 to 2022. Resolution reads as follows. Resolve that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves for the 2021-2022 school year an employment agreement with Donna Reichman as Assistant Superintendent of Schools, commencing July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022, PC number 29-59-17 /BCB, account number 11-000-230-100-54-000, and as reviewed and approved by the Passaic Executive County Superintendent of Schools. And that concludes the revisions and changes to tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Moffett. Okay, that takes us to our first public portion, and this is our first meeting back in public in quite a while, so we're all a little rusty, so I figured I'll just give you a quick review on the public portion. We have two. This first one that we're about to begin is only to address items that are on the agenda, because we need to only discuss those items first and then get to that business and vote. The reason you speak at this portion only is if you have something to say about something we're planning to vote on, and that's the purpose of the first public portion. Then we'll go through our agenda, and we will have a second public portion where you can speak on any topic regarding education. The microphone is there. We'll turn that around. You sign in your name, speak your name and your address and your business, and then start your 3 minutes. Dr. Toback, I think you wanted to address something that is on the agenda before we get started.
Okay. So I'd just like to make a statement regarding the reason why maybe some of you are here tonight. So Assembly Bill 4454, signed into law this past March by Governor Phil Murphy, goes into effect next school year and requires school districts to include instruction on diversity and inclusion as part of each district's overall implementation of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. Furthermore, it calls on districts to teach economic diversity, equity, inclusion, tolerance, and belonging in connection with gender and sexual orientation, race and ethnicity, disabilities, and religious tolerance. Schools are also encouraged to examine the impact that unconscious bias and economic disparities have at both an individual level. Okay. I'll just go back to, schools are also encouraged to examine the impact that unconscious bias and economic disparities have at both an individual level and on society as a whole. Misinformation and disinformation about this law and any associated requirements has not helped matters. While the law itself requires guidance to be provided by the New Jersey Department of Education, at this point the department has not provided the much needed guidance that would clear up many questions and perhaps some misperceptions. As a district, we feel this is such an important step because the law is written so broadly and leaves much to interpretation. And that has certainly happened here in Wayne and many other communities. We contacted the New Jersey Department of Education to explain our concern about this lack of guidance, especially with the school year being only a few months away. What we do know is that beginning of the 2021-2022 school year, each New Jersey school district shall incorporate instruction on diversity and inclusion in an appropriate place in the curriculum in grades kindergarten through 12 as part of the district's implementation of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. How that looks has yet to be determined. At this point, we would be happy to host a parent forum to further explain once we receive the guidance we need. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Toback. This portion of the meeting is open to citizens for comment on agenda items only. Residents are to state their names, addresses, and subject matter. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person. Members of the public are discouraged from speaking negatively about an employee or a student. The board bears no responsibility for comments made by the public. Comments regarding employees or students, I'm going to need quiet. Thank you.
Speak up louder, please.
I couldn't, any further, it'll be in my mouth. I know, I'm sorry. Technology, if you can make the mics louder. I know you're watching back there. Comments regarding, and sorry, I'm doing the best I can, but you need to be quiet. Comments regarding employees or students cannot be legally responded to by the board. Other comments may be responded to tonight or at subsequent meetings under old business. Can I get a mover? Mr. Bubba, Mrs. Albanese. When you're ready, sir.
Oh, thank you. My name's Jim Frieswick. I'm a resident of Wayne. I went through the Wayne public school system from 5th grade through 12th, graduating from Wayne Hills High School in 1968. I'm here to speak to agenda item concerning Board Policy 0167. This is a board policy regarding public participation in board meetings. And tonight on the agenda, the board is considering an amended version of that policy. The following language would be eliminated. The length of the portion to be determined by the board. That language currently is in the policy, that the board gets to determine the length of the portions of the public portions of the meetings. So you're proposing to eliminate that language, and frankly, I don't understand why. Because if the board is not going to be determining the length of the public portions, who is? I don't understand the rationale for eliminating that language. The board is also proposing to limit the amount of time that a person can address the board from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. In my opinion, that the board should keep the 5-minute rule. Not every member of the public is going to speak for 5 minutes. Most people will not speak for 5 minutes. But there are people who may want to speak for 5 minutes, and I think they should have the opportunity to do that. That's been the rule for a very long time, and I'm just curious to know what the motivation is. Why now? Why are you proposing to change the amount of time that a person can speak from 5 minutes to 3 minutes in June of this year? Why? I can take an educated guess. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. I wish you'd fill me in and let me know, but I've got a feeling the reason why you want to limit the people's ability to speak is because you don't want to hear what they have to say.
And that's your time, Mr. Frieswick. Thank you. Next speaker.
Is my 5 minutes up?
Your 3 minutes are up.
Excuse me?
Sir, I'm the chair. 3 minutes. We have a full room. We want everyone to have a chance to speak.
The rule is 5 minutes. You haven't voted to reduce it to 3.
Please don't argue the policy with me, sir. Your time is up. Next.
Good morning. Good afternoon, board members. My name is Jim Pituto. I live at 11 Pontiac Drive in town. I've lived in town for 40 years. My children have gone throughout the Wayne school system, public school system. I was very fortunate in 1968. I received a BA from Rutgers, an excellent history degree. Unfortunately, I had to buy gasoline for my car, so for the next 50 years, I became an attorney. But my true love has always been history. I read it, and I live it sometimes. Since I only have 3 minutes, and that's fine, I'm going to tell some personal history. My dad came over from Italy when he was 3 years old in 1909. He put himself through higher education during the Depression, and later, as I grew older, I found out he got in trouble sometimes during the Depression, working for the unions for such Bolshevik and socialist ideas as an 8-hour day, vacations, workers' compensation. He actually got arrested during that time. He was drafted at age 33, fought in North Africa, fought in Italy, caught malaria, and they took him out of the infantry and they put him into a support group where he worked with a lot of African Americans who were segregated from our armed forces because they could not be allowed to actually fight in combat units except for very specialized units. My father never forgot what he saw during the Depression. And now I'll fast forward to 1963. I'm in high school. We're watching Martin Luther King at the March on Washington. He gave, of course, the most famous speech, the I Have a Dream speech, which everyone gives accolades. But in that speech, he referred to the true history of this country, if you listen to that speech. And my father turned to me. Now, this is an Italian immigrant, a man who fought, a veteran. And he said, never forget, Jim, never forget, the day our family stepped onto New York, onto Ellis Island, we had more rights and more opportunities in this country than black people who lived here, whose families have been here for 250 years. And he didn't have it easy. He worked. He didn't have it easy. Italians were discriminated against. But I commend everyone in this room. I have family in Alabama. Go to Birmingham. Go to the Civil Rights Museum. Go to Montgomery, Alabama. Go to the Lynching Museum and see the true history of this country.
Thank you, sir.
Why are you people
I'm sorry, but I have to stop
afraid of your children?
That's your time.
They
And I
are
do want to
intellectual.
explain. Thank you, sir. Okay, if we could hold the applause, we'll get through this. That is on the agenda. It's part of our goal, which is being voted on this evening. That's a goal, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it is on the agenda. Now, another thing, the 3 minutes, just to correct some information that was just given out, is for your first time at the podium. If everyone gets a chance to speak and someone wants to come back, if we haven't decided as a board to close the public portion, you can speak again. So it's not as draconian as you think. And there are 2 public portions. You could speak 3 minutes and 3 minutes again. So that adds up to 12 minutes, just as a point of information. Okay, ma'am, let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Actually, there's 3 of us that would like to speak together, so we'd like our 3 minutes to be combined to 9, if that's okay? 3
You're going to speak
consecutively?
simultaneously?
No, we're going to speak one after the other.
That's fine, but
Great.
you each get 3 minutes. Thank you.
Right, of course.
So state your name and your address and begin.
I'm Shayna Kegelman,
And address.
10 Bonita Terrace in Wayne.
I'm Dana Aliquin, 94 Carroll Place.
And I'm Brittany Coral, 36 Lawrence Road.
Start.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Approximately 1 year ago today, after 3 straight months struggling to navigate through virtual learning, the school year finally ended. It was June of 2020. School was out for summer, but ongoing fear and worry about the unknowns of COVID-19 had blanketed our nation and communities. The town pools were closed, summer camps and activities were canceled, and as parents and caregivers were doing our best as we juggled working from home and taking care of our kids while reassuring them that everything was going to be okay. It was during this season of worry and confusion that this board sought out, voted for, and hired Tamika Reese, a diversity consultant. Together, you, our board, then handpicked and assembled a committee of paid teachers and counselors, representative of every school in the district, who were trained by Ms. Reese to be able to identify, as you acknowledged, 7 types of bias that might be found in instructional materials from the elementary to high school level. They then sifted through, scrutinized, and evaluated every textbook, novel, and curriculum to make sure that there was enough diversity, equity, and inclusion present, words which some of us recognize as code for critical race theory. You may ask, what is critical race theory? Critical race theory, better known as CRT, holds that the most important thing about you is your race, the color of your skin, and that is who you are. Not your behavior, not your values, not your accomplishments, just your race. And this one thing determines your lot in life. According to CRT, if you're a minority, or in other words, a minoritized system group, you are part of a system that has been rigged against you. If you are white, then you are part of the problem. You fall into one of two groups, the oppressed or the oppressors. CRT champions victim mentality as its cornerstone, while villainizing personal achievement through individual efforts and diversity of thought by stifling one's passion, motivations, and dreams. A child is forever confined to the box that CRT says they are in, and there is no way out. Is this the type of mindset that we want to instill in our children? That we are defined by the color of our skin, that some of us have an unfair advantage just because of this, which will surely breed resentment and anger amongst them? Haven't we for decades been fighting and winning to teach the exact opposite of this? That it's who you are on the inside that matters? That is what makes you who you are?
That doesn't stop the clock, so
We are
it
not
would be
defined
helpful
by
if
our
you were
physical
quiet.
appearance, and that every single person in this country is given an equal opportunity under the law to pursue their goals and their dreams.
We have happily lived our lives in this town according to those principles, living side by side with one of the most densely populated urban areas in the country, with no remarkable incidents at all. Why would we instigate an issue that does not exist here, let alone amongst our children, other than to incite hatred, division, and discord, and to satisfy a narrative and ideology rooted in Marxism? It is a poisonous worldview, one that denies the individual and the content of their character. We are the freest country in the world. Again, whether you are Black, Latino, Asian, woman, LGBTQ, every minority, every person has equal opportunity under the law in this country to achieve their hopes and dreams. Why don't we teach that and inspire students to that? This is not to say that racism does not exist. It undeniably does, but not nearly to the vast extent that CRT would have us believe. It is also undeniable that humanity as a whole has made incredible strides to come together and to eradicate racism and discrimination of any kind from society as much as humanly possible. Why, I ask, would we purposely seek to undo the great progress our country has made by willfully separating and dividing us according to race once again? Board members, I ask you, where were your priorities this entire year? Instead of providing relief to suffering students, as Dr. Tobeck presented, that we have numerous children in our district with severe psychological issues, you decided it was more important to complete an audit for hidden racism, which just so happened to occur at the exact time that CRT is being pushed into every district in America. There are no coincidences. You, in whom we have put our trust to teach our children in math, science, literature, and history, are instead indoctrinating our children with radical political ideology and rhetoric derived from the teachings of Karl Marx. This curriculum works directly against the students' self-worth and identity by undermining their confidence. Students who are being raised in a home with more traditional values are made to feel ostracized. They can't speak their mind against such ideas for fear of retribution. We are well aware that many hallmarks of the CRT framework under the guise of social-emotional learning have already pervaded our schools and our students' curriculum. The banner has been taken up especially by certain rogue teachers hell-bent on promoting an agenda that includes projecting their own radical politics onto their unwitting students. This can no longer be tolerated. Equally, if not more concerning, are the proposed changes to the sex education curriculum, particularly those which will be taught to our innocent elementary students. The content outlined in these guidelines is alarmingly and needlessly explicit, graphic, and at times perverse, and will no doubt result in the exploitation and harm of our kids' impressionable minds.
You're cutting into their time.
I submit this question to the board. Since when did the public school system take it upon itself to become the moral authority from which our children learn their values? You have hijacked this privilege, responsibility, and job from us as parents, and from this moment on, let the record reflect, we do not consent. Let us not forget the original goal of public education, to ensure that the citizens of society were not largely illiterate. Since then, the classroom has morphed into a playground of propaganda in which our children are subjected to the constructs of a narrow political agenda that only has room for one point of view. This is reprehensible. Public education should be suitable for all students of every race, religious background, and gender. It should never be a political or religious forum or a substitution for parenting our children. We say that it's time to get back to the basics: reading, writing, mathematics, science, geography, and history, music and the arts. Bring back respect for others, kindness, compassion. Simply put, teach children to treat others the way they want to be treated. Leave the politics, the religion, the sex education, the family values and morals to us. It is time to remember who you serve, the community and residents of Wayne. You were elected to carry out and represent the will of the people of this town, and thus far, you have failed. Consider us woke from this point forward. We are utterly opposed to this extreme agenda, and we will not allow you to continue to infiltrate the minds of our most precious commodity, our children. They are the future torchbearers of our town, our society, and for that matter, our country. And from this point forward, we will no longer be swayed by a narrative that leads our children down a path of self-loathing and identity politics, resulting in psychological manipulation and theft of the human spirit that is instilled in every child's heart. You have stolen their birthright as American children, and we, the parents and guardians, are the gatekeepers of our children's hopes and dreams, and we will no longer allow them to be sacrificed on the altar of political correctness. Last but not least, for over 1 year now, our children have obediently complied with every single COVID-related restriction and mandate, even when we knew that those restrictions were not based in science. As we approach the coming school year, our children will not be muzzled. Masks will be completely optional. Their right to breathe freely and to see expressions and smiles and to read lips will not be infringed upon. They will not be unnaturally separated from their friends and classmates and teachers with wasteful plexiglass dividers which serve no purpose other than to distract, injure, and hinder our students from learning day in and day out. This is not a request. From this moment on...
That's your time.
No, that was not my time. We demand transparency from this board. We demand accountability for the teachers who deviate from the will of the parents.
We'll have to clear the room. Ma'am, I'm sorry, everyone gets the same
We also demand a comprehensive outline, grade by grade, of any changes made to the curriculum. If you can't fulfill these duties, then step down, period.
Hi, my name is Katie Cluck on 34 Hillcrest Drive. I'm a Wayne resident and a Valley graduate. I graduated in the class of 2020, a very uncertain year. When I was younger, I was bullied pretty severely, and so were my friends, due to our race and our sexuality. Despite the fact I was obsessed with history, and anyone can tell you that, I felt completely alone. I had no language to explain what was happening, to the experiences I was facing. There was no one who looked like me in the history curriculum, and the literature we read was not my experiences. I was looking inside in something that just was not what I faced. Eventually, I did my own research. I found my history, that people of color and LGBT people and so many and disabled people have been here for as long as this country has existed. They have faced what I have faced and worse. We have overcome, and that is the story of this nation. This language and context has been crucial for me. It kept me alive. If the lives of children of color are not enough, the history of people of color is our history. Whether you are white, you have to admit American history is also the history of LGBT Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans, Latina Americans. Reading from other perspectives expands your mind. It helps you understand different ways of reading, different language. The voices of it prepares you for the real world. The voices of people of color is literature. As well, the mascot only encourages the harassment
that I faced and many of my peers faced as well. The American Psychological Association, the National Congress of American Indians, and dozens of other organizations agree. Racism exists. My friends and I have faced verbal and sometimes physical harassment. And to pretend that it doesn't exist holds the important context. It only holds a context. It holds it hostage. Sex education is necessary. It saves lives. Thousands died due to preventable STIs. Millions have died due to AIDS. I tried to hide what made me who I am for a long time, but the brave people of color before me have taught me that it does not help. I will continue speaking, and the people of color in this town will continue to fight as well. We will keep speaking, we will keep learning, and we will keep teaching. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Hi, my name is Edwin Barrero, and I live in 206 Radzer Road. I have lived here in Wayne for about 12 years. I'm black of Hispanic descent, and my wife is white and was born in Europe. We have 3 daughters. Our eldest daughter is white, and I became her father when she was 1 year old. We went on to have 2 more girls who are of mixed race. Our 2 youngest went through the Wayne public school system all the way through high school. Our eldest graduated from William Patterson University. Critical race theory dictates that my eldest daughter, who happens to be white, has privilege over her sisters who are persons of color. Can you imagine the impact that we would have had in our family if our daughters, who have always been close, had grown up thinking that the younger 2 would need to work harder to try to keep up with their eldest one because she is white and more privileged? Well, I grew up in Puerto Rico to a Cuban father and a Puerto Rican mother. We were taught we were all the same. That was the simplest way our parents explained the differences in people. We were taught that it didn't matter what people looked like. We were all created equal by God and worthy of respect and dignity. My wife was born in Switzerland and emigrated to the United States when she was 6 years old. Her mother also taught her that we were all the same, and when she and I met in high school in the 80s, we fell in love. We have taught our girls the same thing, to treat people the way they want to be treated. CRT is not about treating people with respect and dignity. It's about assuming that people of a certain race are bad, can't be trusted, and should be shunned unless they agree that they are bad. CRT attempts to flush them out. In CRT, there is no redemption and no forgiveness. This does not end well. This ends in chaos and tyranny. CRT is not about diversity, it's about division. Our kids will learn to judge others based on assumptions about skin color. Our communities will be split between us and them. Everything will be increasingly about us versus them. Trust us. Where I live, we have Indian, Filipino, Black, Jewish, and Middle Eastern neighbors of all races. I walk around our neighborhood and I see colors and ethnicities all living in harmony with each other. What exactly do we need to teach our kids that they are not already living out in their neighborhoods, in their families? CRT will undoubtedly create more racism. We have come too far to turn back now. I, for one, share Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. I want my 3 girls, all 3 girls, to be judged not by the color of their skin, but the content of their character.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Jacob Van Lunen. My wife and I own 48 Lake Drive East. I'm a Wayne Valley graduate. I won the Student Council Award in 2004. I had Mr. Carroll as my AP government teacher. He was the best teacher I ever had. So I read through the presentation last week, and there was nothing about critical race theory. And when I see all these people here this week, I think it's just a lot of people who want to be angry about something, who are trying to be angry. And I just want to be clear here.
Let the man speak.
Okay. Learning more about diversity, learning about people of different sexual orientations, like learning about these things, this just makes children more whole and makes them have a more complete understanding of the world.
Okay. We don't want to have to clear the room so that speakers can be heard. Everyone has a right to speak here.
What I'm seeing here is upsetting, because the truth is that there was nothing there that said that somebody is defined by their race. There was nothing there that said that critical race theory is going to be taught in our schools. And teaching more diversity, teaching about different sexual orientations, teaching these things, just because that's what a child is taught in school, like, kids can apply critical thinking to the things they're taught. Like, I read Camus at Wayne Valley. I'm not a nihilist, I think that people just need to be more reasonable here, and including more diversity in the curriculum, including authors who aren't dead white guys in the English curriculum. These things are good things. And I don't understand why people are so upset about it. And critical race theory was never mentioned. And these things that people are upset about in regard to critical race theory as they understand it to be, those things, like, they're inserting those into this. They're adding that to the narrative. And I just want the board to know that I support these pushes for more diversity, and I think the majority of people who live in Wayne do. And I think that this is a minority. I think it's a loud, angry minority. And I want you to know that by pushing for more diversity, by pushing for better sex education, you're making the youth in Wayne more well prepared for the world, and you're making the world a better place, and I'm thankful for it. Thank you.
Brown nosing is not on the agenda.
Hi. Oh, hello. I'm Evan Tagliarini, and I live on 5 Lenape Trail here in Wayne. And I am a graduate of the class of 2020 out of Wayne Valley. And I grew up as an American. And as an American, I learned that there's 3 things that you need to love. That is Jesus Christ, my family, and this country that I live in. The school curriculum should not teach kids to hate any of those. The school curriculum should be teaching American children to love this great nation that they grew up in. Diversity is a code word for anti-white. And you could see that by having Harvard Law School invite a speaker who said that she fantasizes about killing white people. Is this the language of diversity? Because it seems like everybody that pushes it seems to have a lot in common with that speaker. And another thing, why is the New York Psychoanalytic Institute pushing an agenda that says that white people are parasitic? Because that's what I think diversity is really about. It's about saying that white people are evil. Now, going to Wayne Valley, you know what I learned? I learned that white people are evil. I went throughout history courses, and all I could hear is how white people did everything in this country that is evil. Never about the good things, never about winning World War II, never about pushing America to the point that it's been. America is the greatest country on earth, And nobody should be taught to hate anybody in America or anybody in this room or anybody of a different skin color or a different religion. We all are supposed to love each other, not hate each other. And that's what diversity pushes. Thank you.
My name is Walter Dano. I live at 70 Beach Terrace here in Wayne, New Jersey. Unfortunately, what I hear tonight is people that have been watching the Fox News, buying into that crap. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, no science, no science.
It's his turn to speak.
These people on the board have been doing the best job that they can in trying to keep your kids safe. That's the truth. Not some crap that you hear on Fox News. Oh, we don't need this, we don't need that. And as far as the other element is concerned, okay, critical race theory. What are they talking about? The fact that in this country, Plessy versus Ferguson, a man who was 1/8 black wasn't allowed to get the same kind of treatment as other people and was denied? That's okay. That's okay. The point is, this country has done wonderful things, and this country has made a lot of mistakes along the way. And we have to correct those mistakes. Your kids are going to see kids in their class who have 2 mommies, who have 2 daddies. Oh my God, the world is going to end. No, that's a reality. And this has been going on for years and years, that people that are different are discriminated against. Oh, we had an Eagle Scout. Oh, he's a Dodhead. Yeah, that's what you people are about. That's what They're taking my time. That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind.
Okay, I'm stopping the clock.
No, how dare I? How dare you?
Sir.
And all the things that we've done wrong and all the things that we've done right.
Already.
This is a great country and can be greater if we show true love for each other. I apologize.
Okay, you have 1 minute left,
Thank
and
you very
kindly
much.
don't use
My point.
If we don't stop, we're going to have to clear the room.
My point exactly.
This is a public meeting, and everyone gets to speak. Sir, I would caution you not to use disparaging language.
No.
However, continue. You have 1 minute.
My use of that disparaging language was to make a point. The point simply being that the same people who believe in law and order are the first to shout anybody down that they disagree with and not give them their chance to talk. But it's okay when they spout garbage about other people. No, he's an American. He's an American like you and I. That's right. Thank you very much.
Are you ready?
Hi, my name is Eileen Madar, and I'm a rising senior at Wayne Valley High School. I would like to address the ongoing discourse about the curriculum change. First of all, change is inevitable, and it allows you to develop new thoughts based on new information. But why are we so against altering the curriculum to represent a larger population and learning about new people? We need these contrasting perspectives to progress as human beings. When we, the students, are in the real world, we'll meet so many new people. We'll learn about their life stories. And we're being done an injustice if we're not allowed to comprehend and digest within the safety of our schools. Our first district goal is diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are but empty words. The research the schools have done mean nothing if we don't take action. A major point in that presentation shown last own last meeting was advocacy. So here I am, advocating for curriculum change because I've silently waited 12 years to learn about my people, and I've yet to see development. So hear me, listen to me, and see me. I want to read works from Confucius, Alexander Dumas, Josephine Brown, Pauline Hopkins, Rabindranath Tagore, Nawal el-Sawi. But no, what we get year after year is Shakespeare. Don't get me wrong, he's a very talented artist, but he's not the only one. There's so many out there that I could have learned about in schools, but now I never will because I was robbed of that essential part of my education. Everyone calls this country a melting pot, a rich blend of different ethnicities, a fusion of cultures, and an integration of several centuries of various traditions. In reality, America is nothing but a school lunch tray. The star of the show, the pizza of the tray, represents our current outdated and whitewashed curriculum. But those side pieces, those apples and carrots and 2% milk are just as important. The stories of millions of these people in our country, around the world, are just overlooked, and they're just as important to the health of our education and to the growth of this nation's people. Our curriculum needs diversity like our body needs nutrition. Thank you.
My name is Maria DeLuca Pranzo. I live at 14 Chickpea Drive and have been a Wayne resident for 46 years. I am a proud graduate of the Wayne Public School System and an alumni of Wayne Valley High School. My daughter just graduated middle school and will be going to Wayne Hills in the fall. I could not be prouder. As a Wayne resident, parent, and taxpayer, I'm here to say that I wholeheartedly support a diverse curriculum as proposed by the Board of Education. I want my daughter to understand all viewpoints, not just the ones she is exposed to at home. I want her to have a deeper understanding of historical context and know that history is built on the backs of the marginalized, but told by the victors. So it is even more important to hear the voices of those that have been silenced or underrepresented. I am not afraid of anything my daughter will be taught in school because her values are taught at home. At home, she is taught to value diversity, inclusion, and acceptance. She is also taught that just because she may experience the world one way, others who look different than she does or worship differently or love differently may experience the world in a very different way. And both are true. The reason the experiences are different is something we should all want our children to understand, because understanding this is what makes our town and our society better. For those who might not be aware, there was a statewide report released this past March on New Jersey hate crime totals and biased incidents by town. Before I read the findings, I thought to myself, thank goodness this won't affect me in my town. So you can imagine my shock when I read the article and found out that Wayne was ranked third highest town in our entire state with the most bias incidents reported to the police. This is not acceptable. We can and must do better. I believe that a diverse and inclusive curriculum is a good start, with much more work to follow. I also believe parents have the right, every right, to get information on what is being taught to their children. Unfortunately, the comments I've seen written by many on social media and heard here tonight are false assumptions about the curriculum, leading to a lot of inaccurate conclusions. Even when Dr. Toback offered additional clarification in his letter, there were still residents posting vehement opposition to the proposed curriculum without facts to support them. In conclusion, to my fellow parents who are listening, no one is going to teach our children to be racists or to feel guilty about who they are, other than their parents. Teachers are here to educate our kids about history, science, English, and literature, but they should be learning these subjects accurately as they occurred, not as we want them to have occurred. I'll say it again. I support a curriculum comprised of diversity,
That's your time, ma'am.
Inclusivity, and equity, and maybe most importantly, truth. And so should all of you.
Hi, Hi, my name is Marissa Bldg. I am a Wayne Valley graduate. And I would like to thank the Board of Education Committee for what you've done the last year to make Wayne Schools a more inclusive environment. The presentation given by Tamika Reese gives excellent suggestions and ways we can make the K-12 curriculums more accurate and inclusive for all students. It's important for students to explore who they are in their identities. Being able to learn about the infinite ways one can identify in the classroom will shape the way students can see the world and the people in it. Implementing authors that are Indigenous, Middle Eastern, Asian, Indian, LGBTQ may allow students of those groups to actually read and learn about their own rich history and who they are in a school setting. It may make them feel special and valid. It will allow students not of those identities to recognize and celebrate those who are of those identities. Additionally, when students can learn about gender and their relationships to their bodies in a respectful and accurate way, that will also make them feel a bit more secure in who they are and a bit more knowledgeable just in general. We cannot ignore uncertain thoughts and feelings students may have on their gender identities and in their bodies. So by shutting down those thoughts as inappropriate doesn't solve the problem. It makes it worse for them in the long run. This revised curriculum will also tell the history of this country and the world in a more accurate way. We cannot sugarcoat and ignore the history and current implementation of imperialism, colonialism, and white supremacy. So I would appreciate it if you could be quiet. We cannot sugarcoat that today's police started as slave patrols locking up free black and brown people. We cannot ignore the history of redlining and how it plays into effect today. And once students learn the real history, it will allow them to advocate for what they believe in to make this world better. True change and equity starts in the classroom, and if we can raise these students to have a wide range of viewpoints and perspectives, they will grow up to be a loving, open people of all races, genders, sexualities, and cultures. I implore members of the Board of Education to not give in to the right-wing ideologies that will only hurt the students, not help them. The decision to keep the Wayne Valley mascot was made based on who responded to the survey.
She does.
The decision to keep the Wayne Valley mascot was made based on who responded to the survey the most, not on what was morally right and just. So with making the curriculum more diverse, I implore you to continue doing what is right and just, and not only basing it off the number of people speaking out.
Okay. That's your time.
Members of the, hear me? Okay, there we go. Members of the board, good evening. My name is Evan Cavello, resident at 29 Sunset Terrace, and I am a Wayne Valley 2014 graduate. During that time at Wayne Valley, I was very involved. I was a varsity athlete, and I was elected president of the student council. As someone who was and still is invested in the Wayne Valley and Wayne Schools experience for our students, I commend the commitment to teaching the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion in an academic setting in K-12. As someone that within this decade has graduated from Wayne Public Schools, graduated from Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and become employed, I can say that this competency does prepare you more for the real world. This is something that, unfortunately, when I left Wayne Valley, I felt like I did have to play catch-up on. So teaching about race is challenging, and learning about it and accepting history is challenging. But it's not about guilt, it's not about victim mentality, it's not about propaganda, it's about the truth. Students deserve the truth. Students can handle the truth. Students have more grit and resilience than we give them credit for. And they can handle the truth on these issues. I say put all the information out on the table, trust in teachers to use these values and core principles that teach our students in the most holistic way possible, and embrace those resources to do it. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Hi, Iveta Wenting, 7 Seminole, Wayne, New Jersey. So dear Board of Education and Dr. Tobach, I am struggling with how to address your email you sent to the Wayne parents on Thursday, June 17th, addressing the topic of critical race theory. You noted that CRT is not here in Wayne's school system, and you're not going to indoctrinate our children, but it is already happening. I can tell you from my firsthand experience what it looks like when only one view on history or any subject is taught in school, and it was during my youth in Czechoslovakia, where at the time it was a communist country. So from where I stand and knowing what I know, this is where we're going. Previously, I have provided you in writing with some examples of what my children were subject to at their time last year in February 2021. First grade social studies, inappropriate brain pop video, 7th grade Newsella article that was presented was full of hate, and Newsella is used every day in our schools. And finally, in 10th grade history class, I have learned, or our kids have learned, that U.S. Constitution was made by and for white supremacists, as it was noted by your teachers. Dr. Tobak had investigated this incident and found that there was no issue because the teacher provided the information in the class that was approved by the board. During this class, also, videos were provided from Brown University as the only source. So our children have no way of differentiating between two options to be able to discuss, two different views to be able to discuss. I spoke with Dr. Martinez, and he said there's always an opportunity for the children to talk about other options, but how can they talk about it when there's only one view presented? So this is what's taking place in our children's classroom. We, as the parents, did a little audit, and we found many biased views that were presented to our children from the other side. So we really want our children to be not indoctrinated and be taught, we're okay with having presented whatever the truth is, but no opinions and no political bias in the classroom. I came to the U.S. for the opportunity and the freedom, and I can tell you, in an equitable place, freedom and opportunity do not exist. In my home, we teach our children to treat everyone with respect, the way everybody wants to be treated, and we have friends from all over. So do not discriminate. Please stop the division and stop teaching hate. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pam Masick, 47 Hinchman Ave in Wayne. I'm here as a concerned resident and mom. I've raised 7 kids. I've got 10 grandkids. I'm studying law. Education's really important. But what's more important is the heart of our children. I love quotes, and there's one that says, "All that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my angel mother." Does anybody know who said that? Yes, Abraham Lincoln. Someone who was largely homeschooled and yet went on to be one of the greatest presidents in our nation's history. I'm here to say we are neighbors. You're my neighbor. I'm teaching your children, and they're watching how we navigate this situation. They want to see our influence in their lives, in our community, in our homes, and we want them to be history makers like Abraham Lincoln. He didn't need a diversity, this or that. He was taught character. And I just want to encourage you that if you make decisions without including us as you're hearing our voices, then we will put feet to our voice. I homeschooled for 20 years. My youngest is now in school. I've run the gamut. I'm in all support groups, and I will help whoever needs to home educate their children if their children's values are not upheld. We understand about school voucher. We will do things peaceably using the law and our rights. to find out what's happening with our taxpayer dollars. And we have, as you see, we have a voice. Maybe you didn't expect it, but we're your neighbors. We want solutions, and we want to work together. We are not asking the government to co-parent our children. We are asking for academics, and let us. We have such a diverse group. We have a large Muslim group. We have Jewish, Christian, conservatives that don't have those values that others do, but yet we want to coexist. We have great neighborhoods. We do a lot of community events. I mean, you said there were 6 cases reported and only 2 were substantiated. And one other thing, as a substitute teacher, I was in history in high school a week or so ago, and on the wall was a huge poster. There were about 12 pictures that looked like the cover of Time magazine, and it was all the same president, but it was so derogatory. I thought, how could they do that with Barack Obama?
That's
like
your
all
time.
these terrible things.
I'm sorry.
Oh, wait. It was Donald Trump.
Hi, John Pennington, 242 Beach Terrace. I've been in Wayne for almost 30 years. I'm 76 years old. I'm a grandfather, so I know several generations that have been in schools. My mother was a public school teacher in Texas, where I grew up, in segregated Texas. So I've had a lot of experience that some of you may not recall. Before I start, I just wanted to thank everybody up here. I haven't seen this kind of openness in government, where I grew up. Wasn't there then. When I read all these rumors that so many people seem upset about on social media, I started looking around. On the website, you can see the entire curriculum for this school from K to 12. And I read the superintendent's letter, and it's very clear he doesn't believe in this CRT and isn't teaching it. And I looked it up. It's not even a clear thing, and I know people all over the country, and it's not infiltrating our school system. So I just...
Please address the board, sir.
Now, what's interesting here...
Sir, please address the chair.
I'm embarrassed.
Only, thank you.
I'm embarrassed that people on one side of this disagreement always feel comfortable interrupting the others. You're my neighbors. This isn't supposed to be a Democratic-Republican body. You're buying into a conspiracy theory. People my age remember when people were paranoid and said we shouldn't have a Catholic president, and then we elected Kennedy. I mean, there's a lot of, we have evolved and we're still evolving. But there's a myth about this conspiracy, and I'd be the first one marching if I heard teachers in Wayne schools were teaching white kids that they were the problem. I think our kids wouldn't buy into it, and neither would their parents. So I think there's an imagined problem here. And I think everybody here ought to go back and read the superintendent's letter. It just seems clear. I don't think... Diversity itself, to say diversity is a code word for something else. Are you going to say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are a code word, or equality? I mean, people are being taken in by nonsense on social media, and that's disturbing to me. We're probably the most diverse nation on earth, and we're going to become more so. And our children need to learn about the past. That does not mean they don't learn about the good things, but they need to know that the Irish, the Italians, the Jews, the Chinese, Muslims, blacks, and other religious and ethnic groups have been treated unfairly, and that right now, for the last 4 years, there has been a rise in hate crimes. And I can tell you that on my street, I know people who are
sorry, that's your time.
accepted in our community who have been the subject of verbal harassment because they are not white.
That's your time. Sir, thank you.
My name is Anthony Maragliata. I live at 28 Judith Place.
Lean in.
Sorry. My name is Anthony Maragliata. I live at 28 Judith Place. So first off, I just wanted to start by speaking as a Wayne Valley alumni who graduated class of 2017, that keeping the Wayne Valley Indian was the best decision that has been made in this township. So I say this because we definitely should not erase our history. Our history should be revered, and that the Indians do have a history in this township, and that we should cherish history that has been made in Wayne. Growing up, I was told to love America and my family, my friends, and most importantly, myself. But to teach people to hate each other, that's a different story. And I don't hate myself. That's exactly what critical race theory does. It teaches you that your race is the number one thing about you, and that that's the exact opposite of what Martin Luther King preached. I don't really see that, but I would say teaching students to see race as number one thing when we should be seeing the content of their character is not right. Like, we're going backwards now. But yes, I acknowledge racism is bad, but to teach students that we're inherently born racist is just going to throw gas to the fire.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Katz. I live at 3 Amy Way. I've been a Wayne resident since 2006, and I've been raising 2 boys in the school district. I have a question that I would love to have clarified. I'd like to know what it is you mean by equity that you last used in your letter, Dr. Toback, and also what Ms. Reese was alluding to when she was talking about what she was investigating for our school district. To many of us, equity means equal outcome. No matter how hard you work or not, you will end up in the same place. This is different from providing equality or equal opportunities to all of our children in the Wayne community. In light of your answer, I would also like you to explain the mission statement and how equity applies to our children of Wayne. It's just a question. I just think that would clear things up because people don't realize that we have some fancy jargon for other bigger words like critical race theory. Maybe we're all confused, but if you could explain what you all mean by equity, that would help.
Thank you.
My name is Robin Duhame, 36 Lawrence Road, and I would like to donate my time back to my daughter.
I'm just going to pick up where I left off. From this moment on, we demand transparency from this board and accountability for the teachers who deviate from the will of the parents. We also demand a comprehensive outline, grade by grade, of any changes made to the curriculum. We demand to be kept abreast of exactly what our students are being taught. We will not go away. We will not be silenced. We demand a seat at the table, and make no mistake, we will be the loudest voice in the room, because let's not forget, these children belong to us, and we have their very best interests at heart. If you, as an elected board member in this town, feel that you're unable to fulfill these duties and abide by the oath you have taken to serve the members of this community, then we kindly ask that you immediately relinquish your position and step down from the board. Thank you.
Okay, hi, my name is Sandy Prasakos, and I'm at 28 Dartmouth Road. I want to start off by saying, in my opinion, it was wasteful spending to hire a diversity consultant. I did my own Google search that night because I couldn't understand a lot of the terminology, and I actually found the exact information that your consultant presented, as well as ideas for lesson plans on sadker.org, sadker.org.
Satgar.org. So the exact labels of bias in instructional material that teachers were told to investigate came from the work of David and Myra Satgar. The Satgar's education philosophy is by no means balanced, so this is quite shocking to find out that we're going to be following guidelines set forth by people who have biased views to begin with, especially towards white males. So Satgar.org will show you what I mean. Ultimately, I can't help but assume that the most obvious reason to hire a diversity consultant is for optics purposes. So I've listened through many Board of Ed meetings, and the way that some people are extremely disrespectful to the board, I don't agree with that. I don't. Not even with the people, up at the podium. We all have a right to speak. But yet these are the same people that it seems like have been the biggest influence over you that kind of has brought about this change. So you're telling us that we're overreacting and we have our facts wrong and that all these changes are not going to happen overnight. The problem is that we don't want these changes to happen at all. We were sent a letter stating that the district will not be implementing critical race theory. Yes, it is true that the title itself, critical race theory, was not presented. But the components of critical race theory were there in the terminology that was used in the presentation. And I could put forth a presentation for you for free, and it's not a joke. I'll donate my time because I know the consultant was paid. But again, I could have provided you that same info that she did with my Google search. So I have to, and again, with all due respect, I think this is what the big problem is. I went and I wrote, I know it's hand written here, but there's 34 terms, could be more, that I counted. I did not understand from Ms. Tamika Reese's presentation. But one by one, I'm Googling them, looking at different sources, and they all, in a way, lead to the tenets of critical race theory. So that needs to be explained, and I think it would solve a lot of everyone's issues, because maybe some of us don't know, some of us do know, and that's where the back and forth comes in. So there needs to be more transparency with that. And again, like implicit bias, for example, that's just, you always have bias and you don't know that you have it. So I don't know how am I supposed to get away with that? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Roger Gunnels. I'm from 22 Lowey Ave. Folks, I'm a combat veteran. I have buried men overseas, and I stand before you appalled that I have to sit here and teach you and tell you right from wrong. I'm not finished. I'm going to read to you an email that I sent to Mr. Toback. I'm writing you to express my grave concerns regarding the direction of Wayne Schools. I recently learned that Wayne Schools Board of Education is entertaining the instruction of subject matter that is inappropriate, dangerous, and has absolutely no academic value whatsoever. Not only does this subject matter not have any academic value, it's what I and many others consider to be harmful to our children. It is honestly inconceivable that our parents are forced in pleading with the school system so not to endorse and carry out an unethical, radical, and liberal agenda and forcing it down the throats of parents and children. Through our tax dollars, we the people, parents, the citizens of Wayne, demand and expect a sound and useful education that will help in preparing our children to become productive members of society, not pawns on the liberal chess table and an ideal of social justice. The kids themselves on their own, with instructions from their parents, can make their own minds up. On to the subject matter. As I understand it, Wayne School Board desires to teach children, not even young adults, sexual subject matter that is difficult and inappropriate for even adults to talk about. This is absolutely repulsive, repugnant, and disgusting. Corroding the young minds of our children is an act that it corrodes the children's minds. Tell me now, listen carefully. Tell me what's the difference between a convicted sexual predator and a school system teaching young children inappropriate sexual subject matter? There is no difference. The school system will not hide behind the misrepresented and misguided liberal definition of education. Apparently, Wayne School Board is willfully ignorant of the ongoing problem facing our communities regarding motherless and fatherless homes and what impact that brings on our children. Any attempt to teach such vulgar and inappropriate subject matter will be met with great rebuke and will not be accepted or tolerated. Let us talk about the void of any intelligence and academic value of the subject of critical race theory, or LOP subject matter disguised as with similar terminology such as diversity, equity, and inclusion, aimed at corroding the minds of our young children, indicting them for crimes they have not committed. You are right, Mr. Toback, you are right. We did, in your letter, you said that we're connecting CRT to what's being proposed. You're right, we're not fools. We know what you're doing. Critical race theory or otherwise teaches that all members of minoritized groups, look, I'm not going to get into that because this is a long email, but we all know what CRT is. It teaches certain kids that they should place themselves beneath other kids because of the color of their skin. And that is exactly what racism is. You can't fix racism by teaching racism. And listen, if you want to...
That's your time, sir.
Hi, good evening. I'd like to start by saying, first of all, thank you and bless you all, because you have more patience than anyone I've ever seen in my life. Wow, we don't even know how to let people listen. First of all, I'll get to what was just even mentioned. I've spoken at these meetings several times. Patricia Brown, 1500 Ratzer Road. After listening to people this whole year disrespect the board, disrespect this town, saying that they pay your salary, which you don't even receive, saying that you have done nothing for the children and families. Look how shocked some people are by that. Saying that teachers are lazy, and much worse. Once again, some people in Wayne are busy screaming and never listening. Critical race theory was not brought up. We can try to connect the dots and make things there that are not all we want, but it was not. I want to speak to you guys because this side of the room has to be better than this side of the room. That's really the bottom line. And the people on this side of the room are here to do a job, and you were elected for that job because you're well educated, because you're progressive, and you know what things need to be done. Taking surveys for people on this side of the room is what led to 20 years without a full-day kindergarten, which thank God we finally have, because this side of the room actually knows better. You study things, you look at things, and if we want to continue, and while I appreciate, it doesn't bother me, while I appreciate the thought exchanges, I am next. Going to the oppressors to talk about oppression never works. It's like asking slave owners if we should get rid of slavery. It's not going to happen. You guys have to be the progression. You guys knew we needed a full-day kindergarten for a very long time. But the other side of the room is what kept it, because they voted it down time and time again, even though well-educated people know that it was not the right decision. So we have to stop asking some people. But anyway, at some point, you guys have to just make the decisions. Maybe you don't get reelected. You have to know that that's a possibility, but do what's right for this town. It's not a popularity contest. And of course, you already know the loudest voice in the room is not always the smartest. And I would just like to leave you
I'm
with
sorry,
the fact that
ma'am, I'm sorry, that's your time.
Change and progression.
Okay. No, I'm sorry, ma'am, that's your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Progression comes with pain. Thank you.
Can we try to stop drowning out the speakers, please? We're almost done.
Philip Rizzo, 45 Millbrook Road.
I didn't even hear
When it comes to bias, the things that I've been listening to tonight were perfectly represented by the last speaker. That is the perfect representation of bias, talking about who's on which side of the room, who's sitting up front, and who's sitting in the back. I heard one racist remark about a scout. That came from somebody where we know which side they're on. The eye rolls, the curtness of your time is up has clearly represented bias throughout this entire meeting. I think it's vitally important for every parent here to understand that these are your children, not those that believe they're elite that sit facing the crowd. That's right. There is a movement happening in America and also in New Jersey where people are being fed up by those that think they are smarter simply because they have initials in front of their name or after their name. The most important title anybody can have on this earth is parent. Everybody in this room, you're going to have a very long time with this board being the way that they are. I recommend, instead of coming here and standing for 3 minutes at a podium week after week, I recommend running for school board. Yes. Unite your voices. Unite your voices and put the people in control that will represent children the most, and that is every person behind me. That's right. Yeah. School boards are run with 3 officials up on a rotating basis, and Arise New Jersey, AriseNJ.com. Arise New Jersey is a school board entity, a statewide initiative that I started 2 years ago to help put parents back in control. I recommend everybody go to AriseNJ.com, get the resources you need, get the encouragement you need, and put the people up front that are going to represent you and your family. Thank you.
My name is Annette Collier-Serter. I live at, where do I live? 135 Tall Oaks Drive. I've been in Wayne forever. I have spent 40 years, secondary, elementary, every school, every grade. I have taught Shakespeare, y también español, everything. And I taught in Wayne, but the Passaic County Tech, nobody went to. Anyway. At Passaic County Tech, yes, we had our problems. Oh, I taught Hackensack, I taught South Bend, not just Passaic County Tech. But people were all different colors, all different nationalities. If I were to go into an all-black school now, or back to Passaic County Tech, or a multiracial school, these kids are liable to look at me and say, "You'll be a white supremacist." They're liable to stone me now. I mean, we can't get this white supremacy theory. It's just a theory. Who thought it up? I don't know. If I'm a product of white supremacy, I mean, I worked sweeping floors for $3 a week. If that's where white supremacy got me, well, okay. But anyway, I am not here to speak. I want to give my time to Edwin Barrera.
Diversity. I normally don't look at people by their color, but now all of a sudden I realize that you need me up there. Who is going to be the more diverse and give me your seat? Of course, I'm just kidding, but I'm trying to make a point to you. I wouldn't want your seat. No, I mean, I would be happy to do the work that you're doing, but I think you're lousy at your job. And I would be just one voice in the sea of inadequacy. So I implore you, please. Right? I implore you to think about what you're doing. Look at the world around us today. Do we need more critical race theory, more accusations, more that white person, this black person? Do we need more of that, or do we need more people looking at each other and learning from each other and getting to know each other and living amongst each other and being nice to each other and treating each other the way they want to be treated, not judging people, just being what we know we should be as Americans? We don't need to learn that from some diversity guru that can get a 50-cent certificate on the internet. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
My name is Yuli Bertalan, and I live at 126 Lake Drive East. And I have one daughter who just finished first grade, and I have two more coming up into the school system. First, I would like to thank all of you, the board, for all the work that you are doing. This has been an incredible year, and you have had to think about us as a community as a whole, and that is incredibly hard. Something that I've witnessed, I wasn't planning on speaking, but just learning from the voices today. And something that I have learned is that we are a diverse group here. There are many opinions, many beliefs, and something that I've learned in reading about the work that you've done and the proposal that has been put forth is that you as a board, our school system is trying to encourage equity, diversity, and inclusion, and that means listening to more voices and hearing more stories and understanding the histories that make up this country that we live in. And so I don't know why that's one thing we have in common here is that everybody wants to be heard. And that's what this proposal is about, is that more voices, more history, so we can have a better understanding of where we are today and how to move forward better. And so I thank all of you for thinking about the community as a whole and not just listening to one voice, but to listening to all of us. And I just want to encourage all of us to continue to create spaces, especially in our school, in our classrooms, where more voices can be heard and more history can be learned so that we have a better understanding, a more holistic understanding of who we are and who we are as a country and how to move forward together. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Leighton. I've been a Wayne resident for 35 years, and I'm also a product of the Wayne Public School System. Before I address the board, I do want to add that I have spoken to our superintendent about the matters listed below, and I want to thank him for taking the time to hear my concerns. I do feel like this is worth repeating so that the members of the board and the community can hear my concerns. I've been a taxpayer in town for 10 years, and I've always considered that this is a great investment, as I would eventually have children in the school system. That day has come. I have a daughter who is set to enter kindergarten in the fall. Unfortunately, my family has decided to not enroll in Wayne Public Schools, but rather to put our daughter in private school, as we are not comfortable sending her to Wayne Public Schools due to a lack of overall transparency. As of now, there has not been a public invitation for incoming students to see the schools. And at a time like this, it is important for families to be informed and comfortable about the classroom and school environments that their children are entering. From what I do know of the current situation with our schools, we have 5-year-olds who are seated alone at desks, sometimes inclusive of shields on their desks, at all times with masks on. This level of social isolation for children this young is not developmentally appropriate. It does not support social emotional growth, no matter how many times we like to repeat that these kids are resilient. This will become increasingly more challenging for both students and staff as these young children are transitioned into a full-day schedule. To add to this already distressing beginning of our daughter's school career in Wayne, we now have additions to the curriculum that have yet to be written into a transparent grade-by-grade plan for both sex ed and equity. Wayne is a town of 25 square miles. We have many amazing and diverse families. It would be nice to see our school district involve the community as they form a curriculum in a transparent manner so that our community members do not feel disenfranchised. In doing so, I feel that some of the opposition that we see tonight on both sides would be clarified in a constructive manner. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Savas Savitas. I just have one thing to ask everybody in the audience here and everybody that is listening to it remotely. In November, there's an election in every part of this state for Board of Education. You can get on the ballot if you get your ballot submitted in the end of July. I need everybody in here to get on the ballot and change things from the way they're going to the way they were before and the way that is right. Thank you.
Madam President, see no one else rise, I move to close public session.
Second.
Mr. Bubba, second. Mr. Pavlak moved. Committee reports, Mr. Pavlak.
The Facilities and Transportation Committee met this evening. It was Mr. Blanchard, Mr. Moffett, Mrs. Kazan, and myself. We were updated on the summer construction projects going on in all our schools. The upgrades to the heating system at Wayne Valley, which will be computerized and controlled. The kindergarten rooms we're putting a finishing touch on. And we're looking at a reorg in the transportation department. That's it.
The agenda from tonight? Do you have a copy of the agenda?
Tonight's agenda?
Yeah, they grabbed mine from the sub-meeting, I'm saying.
Committee agenda.
Report, the committee.
Which committee?
Personnel, tonight. They grabbed my whole packet.
I could do the communication. Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pavlak, were you finished? Who else had a committee report this evening? Okay, well, she needs the agenda. Do you have a copy? You weren't there, were you?
No. I could do communication.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The Communications Committee met tonight. In attendance were Michael Bubba, Dawn Kumar, Eileen Albanese, presided over by Dr. Toback, the Superintendent of Schools. We reviewed quite a lengthy list of media presentations, news articles, e-articles. We also reviewed, in case you haven't seen it, the end of the year newsletter, which is a salute to all of our 2021 graduating students. There's a lot of really nice information in here about what students have done, what they're looking forward to doing. It's a wonderful tribute to the class of 2021. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Mr. Giordano.
Yes, I have the report for the Personnel Committee from tonight. In attendance is myself, Susan Puddup, Donna Reichman, and Paula Clark. In the meeting, we discussed Personnel Committee minutes, which were discussed and approved. We reviewed several questions regarding human resources from the agenda of the 24th. We discussed a per diem and permanent subrate for 21-22. We reviewed the secretarial subrates also. We also reviewed caregiver and clerical assistant increases for 2021. These were discussed. We reviewed a request for full-year unpaid leaves from several employees. We extended the contract of the interim facilities director. We reviewed job description of confidential HR employees. We reviewed single unit contracts also for the meeting. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano. Okay, let's move on to the rest of the agenda. Can I get a mover?
Madam President, I would move the whole agenda. That's one item.
Second.
Second?
I will second it.
Mr. Giordano, moved by Mr. Pavlak, seconded by Mr. Giordano. Moving the agenda as a whole. Discussion?
Madam President, I would ask that we table the vote on Public Policy 0167, participation in board meetings, because there's been an omission in the policy. I would like it to go back to the Policy Committee for review before it is brought back to vote on the agenda. Thank you.
Are you making a motion?
Yes, I'm making a motion.
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Okay, so Mrs. Putup is giving us a secondary motion to table the policy, seconded by Mr. Bubba. So we'll vote on that first and get back to the full agenda. Roll call, Mr. Moffett.
Roll call on the tabling motion. Mrs. Putup?
We're tabling an item and we're voting on it, the public portion policy. Go ahead, Mr.
Tabling motion, Mrs. Putup?
Yes.
Mrs. Albanese?
The policy that we're voting on is Policy 017. It regards public participation in board meetings. While the policy was amended at the last meeting to eliminate a time overall limitation on public speaking at each portion, the 3-minute rule was the other portion of that policy change. I spoke against this last time. I'm going to continue to speak against that. So my vote would have been no, but I'll agree to tabling the policy to go back to Policy Committee. Thank you.
Mr. Bubba?
I agree to table.
Mr. Giordano?
Yes to table.
Mrs. Kumar?
Yes to table.
Mr. Pavlak?
I'll send it back to table, but I don't agree with it. I didn't agree with it last week. I'm not going to agree with it now. We have something in place in policy. If we wish to change something, it has to be voted on by the whole board. It should not be a policy that allows one person to dictate what we can or can't do with a public session.
Mrs. Kazan?
Yes.
Tabling motion carries.
This was still omitted. It took away our right to change it.
What's before the board is the whole agenda minus the tabling of policy number 0167.
Any other discussion on the agenda? The rest of the agenda? Okay. Roll call. Mr. Moffett.
Mrs. Putup?
Yes.
Mrs. Albanese?
Yes.
Mr. Bubba?
Yes.
Mr. Giordano?
Yes.
Mrs. Kumar?
Yes.
Mr. Pavlak?
Yes, and I'll abstain on emergent item T17.
Noted. And Mrs. Kazan?
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, we have some retirements to read. Would like to go first. Mr. Giordano?
Thank you. I want to read the retirement blurb for Mr. Luigi Tulipani. Mr. Luigi Tulipani is retiring after serving the Wayne Township Public Schools for 33 years. Luigi has held various positions in his 33-year career in the district. He started in 1998 as a full-time custodian for a few years. In 1992, he became a groundskeeper, which he held for 8 years. In 2000, Luigi was lead groundsman, and in 2008, he was promoted to district grounds supervisor. Luigi has done it all when it comes to grounds work in the district, be it summer, fall, winter, or spring. He was outside cutting and edging our natural grass lawns, raking leaves, trimming tree branches, and shoveling snow. In the last 6 years, Luigi has held the position of district custodial supervisor. His main focus is to make sure all 16 buildings and schools were properly maintained and cleaned by his custodial staff. He also made sure facilities related to requests were addressed in a timely fashion. During COVID, Luigi played a major role in making sure all PPE supplies were ordered and delivered to the buildings. His staff of full-time and part-time custodians were responsible for ensuring the cleaning and disinfecting were applied to high standards. They also played a part in preparing each building in each of the opening phases for the students and the staff to return back to school safely. Luigi was responsible for several critical areas: fire safety equipment, IPM, asbestos, and fleet management, just to name a few. Outside of school, Luigi enjoys spending time with his family, especially with his dog, Cooper. He also enjoys attending Red Bull soccer games. We'd like to thank Luigi for his years of dedicated service. We wish him all the best and hope he takes some well-deserved recreation time. Thank you.
Mrs. Albanese.
Eileen Hayes has been a valued member of the Wayne Valley High School community for 32 years. Throughout her time, Eileen has taught a variety of special education and inclusion classes with a high level of effectiveness, empathy, and professionalism. As a member of the math department, Eileen has always been a leader while participating and contributing to various initiatives. Eileen has one of the strongest work ethics of any educator we have ever been around. She is extremely well respected and liked by her colleagues, administration, students, and parents. Throughout her years, Eileen has always worked with a variety of students and prepared them with rigor and real-world applications at a high level. Eileen has always been a strong leader and an educator, and both her colleagues and the administration respect her perspective. As a highly effective educator, she is a strong communicator, always advocating for her students. Contacting parents after hours, setting up meetings, or offering additional support are all examples of how Eileen always went above and beyond for her students so they could find the success they needed. Eileen will truly be missed by administration, colleagues, families, but most importantly by her students, who she has always had such strong rapport with. For her supportive fellow colleagues, her attention and enthusiasm to teaching, and overall impact on the Wayne Valley community, we say a huge thank you. We want to wish Eileen Hayes health, happiness, and good fortune as she takes those next steps into retirement. Congratulations.
Barbara Giuliano. Congratulations to Barbara Giuliano on the announcement of her retirement. She's been a dedicated and appreciated co-worker of the Wayne Board of Education for many years. She's a wonderful colleague with a true love for teaching and has profoundly changed the lives of many children. Barbara is energetic, passionate, and patient. She has gone above and beyond for each and every child to learn their interests and their names. She has always put the students first and has made sure classrooms were prepared for the day and gathered materials for the day to ensure success for each and every student. She has shown dedication and development, trustworthiness, relationships with everyone she encounters. It has been a pleasure having Barbara as a member of the school community. We are confident that she will find the same success in her retirement and continue to touch the lives of so many. We send our best wishes and congratulations on a well-deserved retirement.
Mrs. Pettit.
James Brown will be retiring from the Transportation Department on June 23, 2021. James began his career as a bus driver on September 19, 2010. Over the course of his 11 years of service to the Wayne Township Public Schools, he has always been dedicated to his job responsibilities. Mr. Brown, as he is known by his parents and students, has always received many compliments for his professionalism and caring nature. During his tenure, the Transportation Department has received many calls near the end of each school year from parents requesting Mr. Brown to be their children's driver again for the following year. I can attest to that. Me too. As he leaves his job with us, this will allow James to move south to a warmer climate, yet he plans to still drive a bus in South Carolina. The Transportation Department and the Wayne Township Public Schools wish to express their sincere thanks and appreciation for his outstanding job performance and dedicated service. From all your friends and coworkers, we will miss you and wish you the best on your move to South Carolina. May the next phase of his life bring all that he seeks and even more. Thank you for your service, James.
Marianne Gunther. Mrs. Marianne Gunther has instructed math for 18 years, 17 of which have been in the Wayne Township School District at the George Washington Middle School, where Mr. Leonard has said he has been very fortunate to have served as her principal for the past 9 years. During her time at George Washington Middle School, Mrs. Gunther has instructed 6th and 7th grade math, and for the past few years, her concentration has been 6th grade. Mrs. Gunther brings a true balance of compassion and academic rigor that is needed for this age level. In the classroom, Mrs. Gunther has a warm and comforting personality, thus creating an environment where students feel free to be active participants and take academic risks. The connections she has made in her classroom during our students' 6th grade year continue throughout their time here, and her students know she's always there for them. Always being there for her students was just the start for Mrs. Gunther. During her time at the middle school, she has fostered the same relationships with the faculty and administration. For those who have been lucky enough to work with and truly get to know Mrs. Gunther, you can understand why her students are so connected to her and look to her for support and guidance. She has always been there for the students and staff, both in and out of the classroom, but now it is time for Mrs. Gunther to commit all of her time to her family and enjoy what we all know is most precious to her. We are so thankful for the opportunity to work with such a caring person, and we thank Mrs. Gunther for all that she has done for the George Washington Middle School. Congratulations on your retirement.
Mrs. Kumar.
Domenico Solomon. Mr. Domenico Solomon is retiring after serving the Wayne Township Public Schools for 23 years of service. Domenico started back in 1997 as a part-time custodian, but only for a short time. Domenico became a full-time custodian in 1998. In 2000, Domenico became head custodian at Fallon Elementary School, in which he became a staple of the school for the last 21 years. Domenico has worked well with each principal at Fallon and with his coworkers. He has taken pride in the work and accomplishments he has made. During the pandemic, he played a critical role in ensuring the cleaning and disinfecting were applied to COVID standards. He has made sure on a daily basis that all kids and staff were accommodated with supplies and taken care of. Domenico is proud of his wife and adult children. He looks forward to spending time with them along with a planned vacation to Italy. Domenico is a self-professed jack of all trades, some of which include a meat butcher, roofer, floor tiler, and all-around general construction. In his previous career, he was a foreman for Thomas's English Muffins for over 20 years. We are sad to see him leave the Wayne family, but we are happy that he will begin to enjoy his well-earned retirement. We hope that Domenico will be able to enjoy his family. We'd like to thank Domenico for his years of dedicated service and wish him all the best.
And last but certainly not least, Diane Douthit. Diane Douthit has been a dedicated employee of the Wayne Township Public Schools for the last 30 years. She has educated the young minds of students at John F. Kennedy, A.P. Trioun, and Randall Carter Elementary Schools with a love of music. Her lessons always involved movement, fun, and of course, great music. Students could often be found coming in for extra practices to expand upon their musical skills or create a great surprise for a school assembly. Mrs. D's lessons always work to expand students' understanding of music by exploring different countries and cultures, backgrounds, and experiences to understand the great traditions of music. Everyone at Randall Carter wishes Diane the best of luck in her retirement. May her days continue to be filled with the music that she shared with all of us. Okay, we'll move on to our final public portion. This portion of the meeting is open to citizens for comment on any topic. Residents are to state their names, addresses, and subject matter. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person. Members of the public are discouraged from speaking negatively about an employee or a student. The board bears no responsibility for comments made by the public. Comments regarding employees or students cannot be legally responded to by the board. Other comments may be responded to tonight or at subsequent meetings under old business. Can I get a mover? Mr. Giordano, Mrs. Putup. Okay.
Good evening. Ida Ferrante, Wayne Education Association President. I'm here tonight to read a letter that was given to the educators in this community. It starts with the word appreciation. It's defined as recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something, a full understanding of a situation. We have been thinking a lot about how the pandemic has changed us. At the macro level, we have seen the importance of science and public health, but this experience has clearly affected us in our schools as well. Those working in public education have never felt more vulnerable and responsible. We are forced to quickly adapt to new ways of working amidst learning about new procedures, programs, and policies to operate our schools and classrooms each day during a pandemic. This year has shown us that despite the traumatic scars this pandemic has left on us, we are forced to adapt to dramatic change and to the best of our ability. Normalize the day-to-day educational experiences for our students. Your daily interactions with our students offered some of the best support for our school community during the height of a national crisis. We could not be any prouder of the work you do and your commitment to getting back to school. This is just a small token of our appreciation for all you do each and every day to keep our students, our schools, the best they can possibly be. Stay healthy and hydrated. With gratitude, the Central Office Administration team and the Wayne Board of Education members. And this letter was followed by water bottles. And I just want to remind the board to put this sentiment into settling our contract. Thank you.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Kristen Valencia, and I'm an elementary school counselor. I'm sure that I don't have to tell you that the last 2 school years have been extraordinary. The coronavirus has presented the district's educators with challenge after challenge. While we often struggled with faulty technologies and constantly changing schedules, our educators had to make learning happen class after class, day after day, as if there wasn't anything. And we made it work. Many of us fell victim to illness. We even lost 2 of our own members. Others have lost family members, and some have struggled with the mental and emotional challenges during this crisis. After all of this stress and heartache, imagine our disappointment to hear that the bargaining process to give our educators a fair contract is at a standstill. Yes, we made it work over the last 2 years. Now all we are doing is asking to make it work and to offer us a contract that reflects our work and our skills and our dedication. We gave and we gave. Now all that we are asking is for our raise in September. We don't think that's too much to ask. A few weeks ago, the board sent our educators a water bottle for Teacher Appreciation Week with their thanks for their efforts this past year. I'm sure there were some good intentions with this gesture, but it also seems contradicting. I am sure you can guess how many of our educators felt when they received a water bottle, and then were told that the district simply cannot afford their raises in September. Many saw this as an insult. The letter that was attached, which you just heard, appraised us for a job well done. But when it comes to the contract negotiations, the opposite is being implied. So, as a respectful gesture, but a symbol of our disappointment, we are politely returning the water bottles that will be outside in the lobby in hopes that you can return them and use that money towards our salaries. To our parents, we obviously have not seen eye to eye in the past year in regards to the reopening plan. But the one thing that echoed meeting after meeting was what a good job so many children's teachers were doing. You may not know this, but back to school night is not in our contract. We prepare for them, set up for them, and attend them all on our own time because we feel that they are truly important. Due to the status of negotiations, some may be assuming by now that we will not be attending these events in the fall. But after this year, the educators aren't interested in playing games. Your children are too important to us. They are your children and our shared responsibility. We have seen what the pandemic has wrought, and we know that there is work to be done. However, we do ask, in fact, we urge that the board postpones back-to-school nights until the educators in this town have a fair and settled contract. We want nothing more than to meet all of you and welcome you into our classrooms. It is important for you to see what is important to us, but we cannot, in good conscience, spend countless hours on such an event only to find out that our work isn't valued. We can do both things. That's your time. Have a fair contract and do back-to-school night in an equitable manner.
Hi, Katie Cluck, 34 Hillcrest Drive. I'd like to address the question of critical race theory makes white children hate themselves. First off, that's false. Second off, this isn't critical race theory. That's just not what this is. That's not what happens when you learn about history.
Call it history.
However, erasing the history of people of color and our accomplishments does make children of color hate ourselves. We are more than the dark moments. The proposed changes will just expand the education system to include us. Why does the thought of people of color being confident in their history scare you so much? History is important. The accomplishments of people of color are important. The history of LGBT people is important. Thousands upon thousands of queer men died due to AIDS. We cannot let our next generation face the same issues. Our dark history, biology, sex education, all mentionable. I'd like to quote Mr. Rogers. I grew up in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. I'm sure many people in here did as well. Anything that's human is mentionable, and anything that is mentionable can be more manageable. I'd like to tell all the LGBT children, disabled children, and children of color in our education system, you are not alone. You are from a long, beautiful history, not only in tragedy, but in happiness and love and accomplishments. And I'd like to address the board and say that we all deserve to learn that history, whether you are white or whether you have to, you are a child of color and you have to do all of that research by yourself. That is a part of all of us. We are all a part of one another. Thank you.
History's history. We should learn all about it. Not a problem with that, but don't twist it and don't make it fit a political narrative. CRT teaches that members of a minoritized racial group are victims of a system that is rigged against them. Those born into privileged races are inherently exploiters of minority. That could not be more false. After serving in combat, you love everybody. We all bleed green. I don't care what your race, color, creed, religion is. You love the men and women beside you because you put your life in their hands and they put their lives in yours. I'm not finished. We want to talk about is Wayne school system proposing that white kids be taught that they are racist and to place themselves beneath those of a different race? God forbid. Simply put, you get out of life what you put into it. Ben Carson is a prime example of one of the greatest success stories in American history. That if anybody had an excuse to be a bad person, he did. But his hardworking mother she couldn't even read. And she made sure that man grew up to be an outstanding man, and you look what blessings God put in that man's hands. If the school system is going to teach the impact of slavery, that's fine. We should. We should teach about history, teach about slavery. But let's not forget about the barbary slave trade. Who in here knows about that? Where the European whites, at the same exact time as the Atlantic slave trade was going on, the barbary slave trade, white Europeans were enslaved by the Muslims and taken to Morocco in greater numbers. Why don't we teach about that? I know it's inconvenient, but we should, right? We should. I mean, if we're going to be in an inclusive society, we should teach that, right? Or is that just not allowed per the liberal agenda? Shame on Wayne's public school system for even entertaining these senseless and ignorant and valueless theories of which there are no professors. If concerned parents do not bring about change from a clear, intentionally misguided political agenda, then Wayne's school system will have admitted that they no longer have the best in mind for our children and are carrying out the greatest fraud of child abuse ever seen. My child will not take part in anything that is valueless, senseless, and goes against my Christian faith. Thank you.
Torrey Esposito, Woodlot Road. I'm still waiting for the letter from the board and Dr. Toback to Governor Murphy about unmasking the children in September, like all the other superintendent districts are doing. Why do we need to wait until what Dictator Murphy is saying? COVID, I guess, didn't exist for the first 3 weeks of June. It was okay because it was hot. Please, please do not wait for him. Put pressure on Governor Murphy. Unmask the kids.
Hi, I just have a couple quick questions. In regards to what the gentleman was just talking about, just this week, I was with third graders, again, substitute teacher, and they made them keep their masks on. They went out to play. It was 90-degree weather. They came back in. When they were lined up, they had to put the masks on. They come in. One little boy says, I think I'm going to pass out. I need to take my mask off. And they said no. And I tried to stand up and say, well, why not? He's sweating. We just came back from gym. No, he says that all the time. I had to march down to the principal's office and advocate for that third grader so that when I came back, he didn't have to wear his mask. That's the second time it happened in that particular classroom. So we do have to be absolutely clear. You can't have some paras or substitutes or whatever because they personally want to wear a mask, make all the kids wear masks. So that's number one. Number two, I've been certified since last July, K through 12, throughout the state of New Jersey as a substitute teacher. I kept asking, well, when can I start? I kept hearing at the board meeting, sorry, we don't have enough substitutes. We don't have enough substitutes. I wasn't approved until December, and then I couldn't start working till the last week in February. I'd like to know why. I've been here willing to work and help, and then I'm told I can't only work 4 days a week and not 5. Like, what are these things? But we have money for Tamika that could have just Googled it. Like, these are real questions. You know, if our kids are first, I want to know. I want to know why I couldn't work sooner and be a part of the solution. So I think that's a fair question. I think we have summer school, and I'm going to probably apply, and you're going to see me around in July for your kids. They need to know they don't have to wear a mask. They need that cleared. That has to be stated come July 1st. Thank you.
Hello, I just had a couple comments. I have emailed the board many times. You've probably seen my name coming across, and I very, very rarely receive a response. There's only 2 board members who respond to me. It's Ms. Kazan and Stacy Scherer, who always respond to me, but nobody else does, so I wanted to point that out. Also, I will be emailing you today some examples, as I noted before in my speaking, of what already happens, and it's not just from me, but it's from other parents. We have put it in a little spreadsheet, and I want to just make a note of it that you will be receiving it tonight. Thank you.
Madam President, seeing no one else rise, I move. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I just wanted to know why a committee was not put together to try and find a solution so that our teachers didn't have to simultaneously teach virtually and in person, which was quite the undertaking for them, and I'm sure you know it was an extreme struggle. So why couldn't a committee have been put together to figure that out, figure out the teachers who wanted to stay home and teach virtually and let them teach virtually, and the teachers that wanted to be in school, allow them to teach the students who wanted to return to school? I think that's a fair question to ask. It seems like people had time to be on committee, so why wasn't that a more pressing matter? Is there an answer? No. I'm sorry?
We don't do back and forth dialogue.
Oh,
ma'am.
okay. I just wondered if there was, a little answer. Okay, thanks.
We'll have final comments.
Madam President, seeing no one else rise, I move to close the public session.
Second.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that.
Oops, I'm sorry. Did anyone hear what I just said? I asked Dr. Toback to address how we plan to move forward with communication with all of you on this topic.
Okay. So first of all, we do appreciate all of you attending the board meeting tonight, and we do appreciate your input.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
You gotta lean in. There you go.
Okay. How about now? I mean, I don't know what to say. So we do appreciate all of you attending the board meeting tonight. We do appreciate the comments that were made. We do, by sitting here and listening to what you're saying, we do certainly understand more about the community, the concerns of the community. And as I said before, what we would like to do is we would like to have a parent forum, because obviously there's a lot of people who have a lot of different concerns, and it's certainly fair to ask questions, to be concerned about what's being taught in school, to make sure that ultimately you're satisfied that your child is getting the kind of education that you would like them to receive. Okay. Now, that being said, what I would like to ask you to do is, for everyone who has a child in the school system, for all the parents here, what I ask you to do is, and I'm not asking you to look at every single thing in the curriculum, but I ask you to look at the curriculum for your child's upcoming school year. Okay, it's all posted on our website. It's very easy to find. And if you take a look at the curriculum, some of the things that were said tonight, like I said, if it's a collective effort to go through the curriculum, some of the comments that were made about particularly some of the educational programs that are proposed for young students, none of that exists. None of that is in our curriculum. So there is some misinformation out there that is being spread. And I ask you to read the curriculum, go through what your children will learn, and make your own mind up. Don't respond to what maybe you hear about on social media. I mean, certainly you can go through social media, but sometimes I think that some of the misinformation that's out there has to do with that. There's definitely a lot of misinformation out there. Look at a curriculum, make sense of it, and come prepared to have a discussion about what it is exactly that the school district plans to do. I will also reemphasize that Ms. Reese and her work with the district was a year-long project. There was a goal that was established last summer for that particular purpose. The district went through a process. There were committees formed. There was a report from the different committees, and there was ultimately a presentation made to the Board of Ed. Nothing was done in secrecy. That is about as transparent as it gets. The fact that you're here tonight makes it certainly obvious that you have gone and you've read the information that was presented at the board meeting, and you have concerns about that. And I do agree that some of the terminology that was used is certainly, I could see how, depending on your point of view, why you might be concerned about some of that terminology. So that being all said, like I said, I encourage you, please review the curriculum. We will have a parent forum at some point in July, late July, early August, and all this will take place. So, for example, any changes to the curriculum, that is not something that just happens, okay? The curriculum is something that makes its way through the board. There's an education committee of the Board of Education. They review curriculum. They provide updates every board meeting. When they meet, they talk about the curriculum that was discussed, any changes to the curriculum. Those are all reports that are given to the community. So, like I said, it's important to understand anything that you are concerned about would not happen without your knowledge. So that's another important part. The board does provide that information to the community. So stay involved. And like I said, we'll have that parent forum, and hopefully at that point we'll have a number of speakers that will help everyone understand different parts of what the district is attempting to do. So with that being said, we do thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Toback. Any board members care to comment? Mr. Giordano.
Put this aside so you can hear me. First of all, I want to thank and congratulate everybody who came tonight. This has been a brutal 18 months for many different reasons. And first of all, welcome back to Chambers. I'm very happy to be back here in Chambers so I can see the faces of the people here. I saw a packed room full of passionate people, one side, passionate on the other side. You are all very caring about your children, and so are we. Here's the problem. A state law came down from the governor's office that says, you have to do this. As usual with the governor's office, he said, you kind of do it yourself. You will figure it out later on, and if you read it, it's pretty much the way it comes about here. So as usual, we've been given a bowl of flaming whatever and said, deal with it. This is the time to deal with it. I asked last week at last meeting to participate, whether you're for the curriculum change, whether you're against the curriculum change. We are all servants here. None of us are rulers. We serve at your pleasure. We need to know and hear your voice. We want you to continue with this voice. To the person who said we didn't respond to the emails, I didn't respond to the 63 emails I received in 48 hours. The message was perfectly clear. You have an issue, you need to come here, and you need to deal with this. We are the process and mechanism to make things go. This is your town. You are the ones who have to decide this. And the best way that's going to happen is with that gentleman over there who just invited you to sit down and have an intelligent, passionate, well-thought-out conversation. I'm here to tell you right now that not everybody here on one side of the issue is 100% right, and not anybody on the other side of the issue is 100% right. The truth always comes down the middle. But as I look around here, I see half a room full of people who took one side, half of the room took the other side. Other than a little bit talking back and forth, it was a civilized discussion, and I salute all of you for it, and I ask you to continue that process. Do not fall asleep. This is far too important. Get into those meetings, talk to Dr. Toback, keep emailing us. We do all listen to it, but we have to listen to a gigantic community here. So please don't fall asleep on this. Thank you.
Mr. Pavlak.
I too thank you for all coming out tonight and speaking up and speaking about issues. It's nice to see your faces again and not look at a blank computer screen. I respect each and every one of you. I respect each and every one's opinion. What needs to happen is, or the big problem I see, is when you have politicians dictating curriculum and developing the curriculum. It's not being developed by educators. The whole critical race theory was not developed by educators. It was developed by 3 attorneys in the late 1970s. So when you don't involve educators in curriculum, it fails. Look at Common Core. Prime example of government dictating what's going to happen in the schools, not involving educators, but involving major corporations and major book companies who made billions of dollars off of it. Enough. We need a curriculum not which divides children or divides anyone, but one that brings them together. That is what's been fought for in this country, and a lot of people have died for it. We need a curriculum that teaches the truth. All right? Not just, but where do the textbooks come from? The textbook company. Where does curriculum? It's driven through the federal and state legislation. And by the time it gets to us, like a lot of other things in government, there's not much choice left. Keep talking. Keep your voices up. I have to say, I was a little disheartened to hear tonight from some people about situations that have occurred where we have educators telling kids what to think. That's not education. I have a great mentor at Seton Hall in my postgraduate program. His theory is when he presents something, both sides get to argue it. Very collaborative. But at the end of the day, at the end of the semester, I said to him, Doctor, the whole semester, you never gave me your opinion on any topic we discussed. We went from morality to affirmative action and everything in between. He goes, that's what a good teacher does.
Go ahead, Mrs. Kumar.
So I'm actually really happy to be here and to hear everyone tonight in person. It's been a long road. But as now chair of the Education Committee and someone who has been on the Education Committee in the past year, as we've discussed in committee, one of the biggest things that we talk about is we look at the curriculum, that the job of public education is to teach critical thinking in order to analyze a breadth of accurate information. Okay? Accurate information. Now, that means there's plenty of good things out there. There are plenty of bad things out there too. And we can all be proud that we get to sit here, and I can be proud to sit here that I got to marry the person I got to marry because of the loving decision, okay? We all get to do different things, and we should all be proud of where we are and what we've become, no matter where you're from, but we need to critically think about what happened before us, where we came from, and accept who everyone is where they are. So we need to critically think about the past. And that's okay. That's it.
Mrs. Petta.
Thank you for being here this evening. Just as Mr. Pavlik did research, I did too. And critical race theory was begun at Harvard Law School in the late 70s, early 80s. It was not meant to be something regarding the interrelationships between races. It was not meant to have people feel bad for being white. And that's an accident of our genetics, where we lived, where our parents came from. However, critical race theory examined things like redlining and different laws that had an impact on minority communities. It used words like diversity, equity, inclusion. But now those words are being taken out of context and being used politically to make people think that our curriculum is going to make children feel bad about themselves. That is not the goal in Wayne Public Schools. No one should ever have to apologize for their skin color, their beliefs religiously, or how they conduct themselves. So I just want to caution you that about critical race theory being used in a way that it was never meant to be used. It's easy to grab onto those buzzwords. So thank you again for being here this evening, and we appreciate each and every one of you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mrs. Albanese.
I want to echo a lot of what my fellow board members had to say tonight. I'm not going to repeat since everyone spoke very eloquently, but as this is our last meeting in June, I really did want to use my time to congratulate all of our graduating students, our 5th graders moving up, our 8th grader moving on to the high school, most especially the class of 2021. You're an amazing, resilient group of students. parented by some wonderful people who got you through some really difficult times. So this is our last meeting in June. We had 5 wonderful graduations over the last several days. I want to congratulate the students, the parents, the staff members, many of whom are here tonight, really for an exceptional job during very, very difficult times. So congratulations to the students, and I wish them all the very best in their future endeavors. So thank you. That's how I wanted to use my time. Thank you.
Guess I'm last. First of all, I just want to clear up some misconceptions about the role of a board member. Like Mr. Pavlak said, and it's something I've been working in Trenton personally on a few state committees, there's not a lot of local rule left. Most of what we do here is dictated to us by the Department of Ed, the State Board of Education, and the legislature. By the time it gets to us, we have a minute amount of autonomy, and that's unfortunate. And it's something I argue constantly in Trenton. And Mr. Esposito, if you're still here, we do talk to the governor, maybe not in the public manner that you're seeking, but he receives information from us. We lobby as a group, the New Jersey School Boards Association, and we work directly with his office on things that we don't always necessarily agree with. So yes, we are always advocating, always talking to our representatives and to the governor's office. And we take an oath to uphold the Constitution. So whatever the state dictates to us, that's what we have to do. And if not, there'll be consequences. So it's easy to say, just do what we want to do, but unfortunately, that's not possible. But we will continue to advocate. Obviously, we report to you directly. You elected us. And if you're asking for something, then that's what we'll lobby for, clearly. That's what I will lobby for. I go with the consensus of the community. That's definitely who I report to. And no, we don't get paid. Just throwing that back out there in case you didn't hear it during the meeting. This is a volunteer position, and I think my colleagues to the right and left have done an amazing job this year. We've been browbeaten and bullied and treated pretty badly over things that we have very little control over, like the mandates. And unfortunately, you know, it's our job. We'll take the heat, not a problem, and again, continue to push for better solutions. Our curriculum is not hidden. As Dr. Toback mentioned, it's online, easy to find. You can read it. It's broken down quite comprehensively, I have to say. And yeah, petitions are due, I believe it's July 25th. So if anyone really believes, whoever stated it, that we're doing that lousy a job, by all means. Very few people run. Maybe now that you know we certainly don't get paid, we'll have the usual turnout of candidates, but you're free to do it, and I welcome new people anytime. This is your community, and your right to run for public office. But I wanted to end the meeting and the year on a positive note with gratitude. I'm grateful that most of us survived the pandemic, and our lives will always be enriched by those we lost. I'm grateful to our students for persevering and moving forward with their education, no matter how challenging the switch over to mostly virtual learning was for them. I'm grateful to our teachers who went above and beyond to ensure a quality education was delivered in spite of ever-changing schedules, technology issues, hybrid classrooms, and fears for their own safety and families. I'm grateful to the parents who stepped up in ways they never thought they would have to. It was tough, stressful, and downright exhausting. I can only hope there were some fun, memorable moments that you will always look back on and remember fondly. I'm grateful to our administrators and secretaries who worked hard to keep our building staff so we could remain open as often as possible. Nobody signed up for that sort of crazy scheduling. I'm grateful to all of our support staff who stepped up as well. We couldn't run our schools without the custodians, bus drivers, paraprofessionals, and substitutes. I am grateful to our superintendent and his staff at Central Office who led the way with communication, technology changes, constant plans, FAQs, changes from Trenton. I think everyone's cardiologist had an uptick in patients this year. It was stressful. I'm grateful to my colleagues We were the target for things we had very little control over. I thank them for handling themselves with grace and professionalism through many difficult meetings. And finally, I'm grateful to have attended all of the year-end promotions and graduations. Ultimately, our graduates were able to enjoy the end of the year with some sense of normalcy. As a good friend always reminds me, there's always this silver lining if you just look for it. So congratulations to the class of 2021, and I hope everyone has a nice, safe summer. Thank you. Can I get a mover? Mr.
Motion to close.
Giordano, Mrs.
Second.
Putup. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Who has the year-end brochure?